So what influences value? Like, so I go to the shows and there are like lots of watches there, and talk to Sandro Fortrini, and he's talked about, well, I just went and I buy what I like, and a lot of collectors say I buy what I like. But what influences value? Like, if you want to be a collector, how do you get the right ones?
Well, Faber has distilled, my company has distilled, and I've instilled these rules in my salespeople. I got it down to 5 fingers.
Okay.
5 fingers to establish present and future value. The most important and the first is brand. And now that's starting to change because some of these obscure brands, but it is in context of trend. So Longines is a hot trending watch now. Omega is a hot trending yesterday.
Right.
Of course, Rolex, Rolex and Rolex again is trending. So within context, the brand is very important. The second finger is presentation and condition. Absolutely, if it comes with an original box, but more importantly, original paper, it removes a whole aura of fraud and manipulation.
Right.
And that's really important and adds at least a 25% premium to the purchase. So we have the brand, we have the box and presentation. Next is, well, what is it made out of? There are pieces like this Longines watch we just discussed. That's steel that brings more money than if it were gold.
Correct.
And that has to do with the 5th finger, which is rarity. It's much rarer in steel from 1940 or 50 or even 60 than it would be the same watch in gold.
Okay.
And then most equally importantly, as a finger of value, is complication. So a simple timepiece only does and can have great value.
What's considered a complicated watch?
Anything other than time only. So automatic is really a complication. Automatic date is another complication. But what's generally referred to is when you get involved in calendar watches that also have the function of a day of the month, the month of the year, and the astronomic moon phase. So moon phase calendar or triple calendar. Some of these watches made in the 50s, because they are 7 function watches, day, date, chronograph, moon phase, and so on, can get very expensive. The tricompexes.
And those are handmade, so which made it even more difficult.
Absolutely true. So when we talk vintage, by the way, for your audience, we use the terminology vintage watch, antique watch, vintage watch, contemporary. And they mean something. Before 1935, before World War II was starting and preparing, they really hadn't got it together. It's really a pocket watch, kind of worn on the wrist. Sometimes in the 20s you see those bands that are rigid. You have to find a strap that you fold over. It doesn't have the detachable spring. So the antique watches haven't got it figured out for wristwatches yet. They don't have jewelling to protect the seating of the jewelling, to protect shock proofing. They haven't quite figured out waterproofing technology. All that comes later in the 30s and early 40s. So antique watch, we use arbitrary 1935. Vintage begins in 1935 and goes all the way through 1988, 1990. Why? The Swiss watch industry starts to automate. CAD/CAM comes in, and the human hand is lost. Up until then, all these high-quality companies, it's all hand assembled.
But that's still, I think it's getting into the brand, getting into becoming a collector. It's so hard because you don't know which materials. Like, how do you know? Like you mentioned steel. Sometimes steel is actually more valuable than gold or platinum. How do you know what material is the best one to get into?
It's in context. So you have to think, when is steel rare? It was very rare in the 20s. It really didn't exist. Stainless steel is more or less invented in the 30s to prepare for the war. So during the war years, you didn't have gold. You didn't have platinum. And stainless steel watches became very rare and very collectible. Rose gold, no copper in the world, because it's all being used for the military. Copper comes in after World War II. And you have some very cool rose gold watches. So rose gold, the color, can often affect the value. But it starts to what you like. I don't really like these collectors that buy watches brand new to put in a vault because they've never been worn. What is that about? A watch should be worn.
Right. It's true because it's, I mean, I have a few pieces and I always wonder, do I hold it? Do I not? Do I wear it? You know, is it going to go up? And there are people who have actually purchased watches and, you know, like, take the Daytona, for example. You know, I'm wearing the new Daytona now. I have no idea, like, what it's going to be worth 10 years from, but I'm enjoying the watch. The Zenith, with the El Primo music, movement, that one actually is going up in value now, right?
Yes.
Because it's the movement's rare. They made fewer of those than the more recent Daytona.
Absolutely. And I think if you follow generationally, it's amazing that the manual one, Rolexes, which I guess exist up until 1985 or 86. So the 626 5s, the 6263s, the 6240s, all those watches made in the late 60s, early 70s through the early 80s have gone from watches worth $1,000, or actually at the time of manufacture $200 or $300, to now a round button one with a nice dial is trading for $45,000 in steel.
It's a beautiful watch.
It's great aesthetic.
Yep.
Great aesthetic.
So if someone were to get go vintage, pre-owned, how should one protect him or herself from an inspection standpoint, ensuring that there aren't any aftermarket parts on it? That
you really have to buy from a reliable source. One of the wonderful things that Amazon has done through your good offices has created this structure where the buyer is more or less protected. They've all been vetted by professionals at the top of their field. And they have recourse. If it's proven incorrect, it can be dealt with from a reliable standpoint. So you want to be able to buy from a source that will guarantee certain things. The reliability, the integrity of the watch, the originality of the dial parts.
Okay.